Hi, sixth graders. This week we're going to talk about atoms and the periodic table. This is just a review because this is what we were doing before we left school. So I hope all of you are doing well. I know I really miss being in class with everybody, but we're going to make do with our situation, so let's get started. So first off, we're going to do a review on atoms. So atoms, what are they? Remember, they are the building blocks of matter. So what is matter then? Matter, this is something that occupies space. Don't be confused that it's like cells. Cells have matter in them, but cells itself is not matter. So now we know that atoms are the building blocks of matter. Matter occupies space. So what makes up atoms then? So we have our nucleus, the protons that are inside of the nucleus that are positively charged, and our neutrons that are also inside of the nucleus that have no charge to them. And we have our electrons, which are negatively charged, that are around the nucleus. So moving on, next we have our elements. So remember, our elements, they are made up of only one type of atom, and on our periodic table, how they differ from one another is due to the number of protons that they have. So when we're reading our elements, so we have beryllium right here. We have our element name, which is the name of the element, so beryllium. We have the chemical symbol, which is an abbreviation of the name. In this case, it is Be. So whenever we have an element that has two letters for its symbol, remember that the first letter is always going to be uppercase and the second letter is always going to be lowercase. We have our atomic number, that is the number here in the top left-hand corner. This shows us how many protons and electrons are in an atom. And when I say that, I mean not both of them combined. That means that this one has 4 protons and 4 electrons. And then our atomic mass down here, that is the number of protons and neutrons together. So remember, when we're looking at this, it's not going to be a whole number, so you need to do some rounding in order for it to be a whole number. It'll make our math easier when we're determining each of those elements. So, kind of like what we just talked about, atomic number is in the top left-hand corner. Chemical symbol for beryllium is Be. Element name, beryllium. And our atomic mass in this one is 9. So how we find the number of protons, electrons, and neutrons. Our protons are the atomic number. The electrons are also the atomic number. And our neutrons is our atomic mass, the number at the bottom, minus the atomic number. You could also think about it as the big number minus the small number. So for beryllium, our protons is 4, our electrons is 4, and our atomic mass is 5. So just a little bit of practice. Maybe do this on a separate sheet of paper if you have it in front of you, or just do some mental math. It's pretty easy. So for fluorine, for our protons, electrons, and neutrons, and if you want to pause the video to take a little bit of time to figure out each of these, go ahead. So for fluorine, our protons is 9, our electrons is 9, and for our neutrons, we have to look at this number. So our atomic mass is 18.9. So we're going to round up that number to 19. So that means our number of neutrons is going to be 10. So that's our review over atoms. So next we're going to do a quick review of the periodic table. It is not going to be as in-depth as we did it in class. Like, you're not going to have to color anything. We're not going to learn different properties about every single period. We're mostly just going to talk about how you read the periodic table and what each period is. So, how we read our periodic table. So when we are reading it, we have vertical columns, so ones that move up and down. These are called groups. We have horizontal columns that run side to side. These are our periods. And then on our periodic table, we have 3 different classes that we're going to be focusing on. We have metals, nonmetals, and metalloids. So here's our periodic table here. So remember, our groups run this way, and our periods run this way. Groups are vertical, periods are horizontal. So our first group that we have is our alkali metals. These are very reactive. So these would be hydrogen, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, and francium. Group 2 is our alkaline earth metals. These are also very reactive. And instead of saying all the elements in that period this time, in that group, I will just say it runs from beryllium down to radon. Our group 3 through 12, these are our transition metals, and we're also going to include the elements down here, at the bottom of the periodic table in our transition metals. So this runs from group 3 to 12, so from here all the way over to here. And that's why I put that little hilly looking thing, so that way you can see where it falls. Group 13, that is our boron group. So remember, for 13, 14, 15, and 16, these are all going to be named based off of the first element that appears in that group. So these are where we start to see our metalloids. So boron, in this case, is a metalloid. Everything below it is a regular metal. Group 14, our carbon group. We start to see nonmetals, metalloids, and metals in this group. So carbon is a nonmetal, silicon and germanium are a metalloid, and everything below that is a metal. Alright, moving on to group 15 here. That is our nitrogen group. Again, we are going to see metals, metalloids, and nonmetals in this group. So nitrogen and phosphorus are nonmetals. Arsenic and antimony are metalloids. And the rest are metals. Group 16 is our oxygen group. So oxygen down to selenium are our nonmetals. We have tellurium, which is our metalloid. And then polonium and livorium are our metals. Alright, going into group 17, this is not called the fluorine group, this is called the halogens. So our halogens, kind of like our first 2 groups, these are both, this group is very reactive. And we will talk about more why they are so reactive when we start talking about the number of electrons that it has in it. So our halogens are reactive. Just know that fluorine is the most reactive in this group, and when you go down that group, they get less reactive. Alright, group 18. These are called our noble gases, and these are not reactive at all. They are too noble to react to any other element. So that's just our very quick review on atoms in the periodic table. Be looking in classroom for the review worksheet that I'm going to have you do over atoms in the periodic table. I will put a short video giving you instructions on how to do that and give you some examples as well. And then I'm also going to have you complete a mini project where you are going to write your own name with the elements. So here's mine. And I will show you how to do that again on another video. So be checking classroom. I have this video on there. I'm also going to give you a little timeline to tell you maybe how you want to break up your stuff during the week. Just know that it's not required, but it might help you in the long run. Alright, thanks for watching my review.